Hello, everybody. Welcome to session 7, day 2 of Grovember. We're going to get started here in just a few minutes. And this hour's session is with the great Andy Mott. He's the head of Tiger Care over at TourismTiger. How is everything going, Andy?
Doing wonderful. Thanks, Jenna.
Awesome. So, little fun fact about Andy and I, we're actually both coming to you from Santiago, Chile today. So we're now entering beautiful summer season here in the Southern Hemisphere, and we're super stoked about it.
It is
uh,
lovely weather.
it's pretty good, right? It's not bad. Have you been enjoying the sunshine, Andy?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you do hiking or anything? There's lots of mountains around here.
Very avid trekker, yes.
Are you? Oh, nice. Very good. Cool. So, just as a quick little housekeeping item here for everybody listening, if you haven't been watching before, you do have that little question box on the probably on the right hand side of your screen if you haven't already moved it. If you ever want to ask a question, you can always pop questions in there, and we'll be looking at it and answering at the end of the presentation. So you're probably wondering who I am. I don't have an Australian or an UK accent. My name is Jenna Sargent. I'm a team member here at Peak Pro. I'm always standing in front of a map just in case anyone's ever taking a picture of me. I'll hand off to Andy in 1 minute here, but just for those of you who are joining today for the very first time, I'll go over some really quick little admin here. So of course, welcome to Grovember, day 2, penultimate session. We'll, of course, be having one more session after this one today. You've obviously all joined, no problem. But just as a quick reminder, you can join the last session the same way that you joined this one, just from that same link that you clicked. You can also check out our featured post on peak.com/pro/blog. The very first post that's on there will be all about Grovember. We'll have all the resources listed there and links to join as well. So one question that we continually get is if there'll be recordings. There absolutely will be. We'll be emailing out all of the recordings tomorrow of all 8 of the sessions. Nonetheless, you are here now. We recommend that you put away all your phones, tablets, Kindles, whatever you have. Turn off all those notifications and really pay attention while you are listening. You do, of course, have the opportunity to ask questions to Andy here, so it's awesome if you're able to take that opportunity. Before we get started, why don't you let me know about Jeremiah's presentation? If you have any questions at all about Jeremiah's presentation, throw them in that question box. Let's try out, make sure that you know how to use it, and see what you got. We got Tourism Tim still here listening, which is great. Thanks so much, Tourism Tim, for being here. We're really excited to hear his webinar in January. It'll be a part 2 of the one that he did with us in, when was that? I think it was in July. Yes, July. It would have been in July. So thank you so much, Tim. Perfect. Okay, so let's get started here. A quick little introduction, of course, to Peak Pro, who's hosting this event. We have over 4,000 tour activity and rental operators worldwide using Peak Pro to get more bookings, deliver great customer service, same time, save money, and make business enjoyable again. Now, you probably all know the drill of this already. We really believe that simple, easy-to-use booking process means more sales for you, and so we've made the industry-leading booking process and tested every single step of that process to see how it could get you the most conversions. I really encourage you guys to all check that out yourself. If you're interested to learn more about how we can really just make your business enjoyable again, send us an email over at sales@peak.com or visit us at peak.com/pro and request a demo. Now, if you've been following us from the start, you know that to warm everybody up, we've been giving a quick growth tip before every presentation. And given who's speaking today, I wanted to offer a tip to you all today related to websites. So what I did was I actually visited 50 tour operator websites of businesses that I knew nothing about, and I found some pretty surprising stats from that. So 2 that stuck out to me just from the get-go was that 24 out of the 50, so almost 50% of the websites I looked at, had no testimonials listed, and 12 out of the 50 had no contact information listed. So these are two super simple things that you can add to make a pretty big boost to the credibility of your website and to the credibility of your business. So if you don't have those things, make sure you go and you find some testimonials and add in your contact info. However, all of that said, that's actually not the growth tip that I have for you. The most surprising thing to me was that out of those 50 websites I looked at, 33 of them had an unclear headline. So this session's tip is to make sure you have a clear headline on your website. So let's start off with answering the question that I'm sure some of you have. What is a headline? Your headline is going to be the first sentence on your website that explains what you do. So when visitors visit your website, it'll be the first thing that they see. So it's obviously a little important. So what I'm saying by that it's unclear is that when I first looked at the website, I actually didn't know what the business was offering. I had no idea what kind of tours, activities, rentals. I might not have even known where they were offering those things. And that's 67% of the websites that I looked at. So my tip today is to check out your website and try and view it from the perspective of someone who knows nothing about your business. What's the first thing that visitor is going to see? Make sure it includes your location, the general theme of tours or activities that you offer, just to really reinforce to the visitor of your website that you're offering what they're looking for. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to pass it on over to you, Andy. You're going to see a box come up to share your screen here. Welcome, Andy.
Thanks, Jenna. Hi, everyone. My name is Andy Mott. I am the head of Tiger Care at TourismTiger. TourismTiger are web design specialists for tour and activity operators. So I'm thrilled to be here for Growvember. I'm excited to share with you guys some tips and techniques to leverage your website for growth. These are going to be very concrete items with which you can go away today and do yourself. All right, so we're going to go into a little bit about me, and then we're going to do some setting up of your site, talking about designing the user experience. Then we'll move into implementing security habits and doing some SEO optimization. And then finally, we'll be talking about maintaining and reevaluating your site on a continual basis. So I am from Golden, Colorado. I graduated from TCU, or Texas Christian University. Go Frogs! I'm going to go ahead and assume I got at least one Go Frogs back, but I can't hear you, so I know you're out there. I'm now living in Santiago, Chile, as Jenna said. And I'll go ahead and admit that I am probably the Growvember panelist with the least amount of experience. However, I think that's going to play to my own and your advantage, as this presentation is aimed at helping anyone and everyone drive sales to their website. I'm not a CEO, but I'm currently in the trenches working full-time on maintaining websites from 9 to 5. So I'm hoping that this is going to be stuff that you can go and help yourself with. So why is this important? Your website is the single greatest tool that your company owns. It is the largest impression generator that you have. It is a window into your business that allows anyone, anywhere in the world with an internet connection to independently form an opinion about your company. Therefore, it's crucial that your website is a point of strength. So let's talk about your site setup. When doing your site, the first most important aspect is assessing your needs. That's basically going to be the determinant for what direction you're going to go. Then next, you should choose a platform. And then finally, you should design a sitemap and user experience that is both simple and logical. And this is really going to be one of the keys to future-proofing your website, is the initial setup that's going to be prepped for growth in the future. So when you're assessing your own needs, you should be asking yourselves questions like, how big is my website? How much change and growth do I anticipate? And then do I need to accept payment via my website? These are really important things to talk about. Now, I assume that all of you are at least going to check out Peak because it is a great way to accept payment through your site. They're a wonderful booking software. We love working with them. All right. So next, we're going to talk about choosing a platform. Basically, there are two types of websites. There are coded websites, which are just going to be a page of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript code. And then there are content management systems, which is going to be something we see here on the right. This is going to be something like WordPress, Joomla, Squarespace, those type of websites that all kind of have a platform for them. So first I'll go into non-CMS or a coded website. The benefits of these is they're not going to be limited in any way. They're extremely customizable. And then finally, you have someone who's intimately familiar with your site, as the developer's handwritten that code line by line for you. The drawbacks of these is that they're not easy to add new pages. Changes, just simple changes, are a little bit more difficult, although I wouldn't let that deter you too much. Later in the presentation, I'll talk about how you can go through code and find a simple change to make. And then finally, that they're expensive. Developers have a unique set of skills that make them charge a lot for their time. Now let's go on to a content management system site. The benefits are they have a nice user-friendly platform. It becomes easy to make those simple changes, and then it becomes easy to add pages. Sometimes it's as easy as just duplicating one page that's already existing on your site, and then just changing the content and using the same template. The one drawback is that they are limited by templates most times, and then as well as you don't have a direct relationship with the developer in most cases. So when you're assessing these, you kind of need to be asking yourself, am I going to make consistent changes? Is that going to be something I can do on a coded website? But if you're going to be growing and adding pages every year, then a content management system is probably a better choice for you. But it really does go by a case-by-case business. If you are a small website and you're not anticipating adding new pages, then having a developer hand build a site for you might be the best option. The next step is going to be determining your sitemap. This is the hierarchy of the pages on your website. As you can see, this is one of our customers' sitemaps. It starts with the home page up at top, and then that first line underneath that is what we call the top-level navigation, or the menu in most common terms. And then beneath that, you'll see product pages, specific administrative pages like an About Us and FAQs, and then you'll see the blog as well. Now, the key when designing a sitemap is making sure that users are no more than 3 clicks away from the booking button at any point in your website. So if you are a big site, you need to work on categorizing your tours in a way that makes sense and is logical and then makes it easier to navigate to that product page. So that first click should be into a category page, and then the next click onto a product page. And then from there, they should be able to click and book immediately. And this just makes it simple and easy for people to navigate around your website and to find your booking buttons. So user experience. User experience could warrant a webinar in and of itself. But I'm going to just talk about these 6 things on the screen here because they're widely they're most aired on. And again, a user experience is going to be key to future-proofing your website. If you have a logical, simple user experience, that's going to last for ages, no matter how technology trends change and advance. The first item is clear call to actions, or CTAs. This is a customer's website of ours before he came to TourismTiger. And as you can see, it's not really obvious what I'm supposed to do when I enter this page. There's the menu, and then the only other option is to scroll down. Once we redesigned this page, however, you can see that you're supposed to do one of 3 things. See our options, book a tour now, or book now. They're colorized. They're very clear, and they're concise, scannable, and they tell the user what to do, which is really what the user wants to know from you. They want to know what to do. The next item in terms of user experience is simplicity. This is another one of our customers' websites before they came to us. And as you can see, it's just very crowded. I don't know where to start reading. There's that column of the text on the left that doesn't really make sense to be there. And then on the right, they're trying to over-exaggerate those social aspects like Viator and TripAdvisor, which are important. As Jenna said, you should absolutely have some social proof on your website, have some reviews that people can read, but maybe not jumble them up as much. So next I'm going to show you guys a video about this page once it was redesigned. As you can see, the content is now broken up out of those long paragraphs, and hopefully it'll play. There we go. So the content's broken up out of those long paragraphs. It becomes digestible. You're able to highlight what you want. There still is that social proof aspect in the TripAdvisor rankings on the side. You can then break it down by category. And then finally, at the end, you're allowing the more full description of the tour. So it's kind of like allowing someone to dip their toe in the water, get familiar with you at first, and then at the very bottom of the page, you can provide those full tour descriptions. Next item is pop-ups. So pop-ups should be used as a last resort. If you are down to the point of using pop-ups, that means your user experience is failing you. That means that you haven't told users what to do, what's important. Ideally, if you're going to use pop-ups, they should only be exit intent pop-ups. This means that it's tracking the visitor's mouse, and when it goes to exit the page, that's when the pop-up gets triggered. And you're doing this because you don't want to cover up your valuable content immediately after you get someone to your site. That's one of the hardest aspects of having a website, is getting someone there. You don't want to throw it in their face immediately. You'd rather have the user experience there in the first place. And then finally, with pop-ups, if you are going to have them, they have to provide some sort of value, whether that be a discount, a promo, or unique information. You need to provide something that they're not going to find elsewhere and that is going to be valuable to them. Next item in terms of user experience, I'm going to talk about eye scanning methods. Basically, there are two different types of methods that visitors will use when they're seeing a website. There's the F method, which applies more for big blocks of text. So think about a Google results page. You have all the different results. You're going to start at the top left at the first result, scan across to the right, go back to the left, down, over to the right, back to the left, down, forming an F. But for most content websites, visitors are going to use what we call the Z method. And that means they're going to start in the top left-hand corner, move their eyes across to the top right-hand corner, diagonally down to the bottom left-hand corner, and then across to the bottom right-hand corner. So you should capitalize on this and fill these spaces with CTAs, unique selling points, points of difference, value propositions. As you can see on this one, we have very important information across the top, such as contact info, a book now button, and all the categories of tours that they offer. And then across the middle, we have a clear headline that tells them what we do, and then call to actions. And then at the bottom, we have some unique selling propositions that are specific to this company. And I like to tell our customers that if you overcrowd your website and you try and do too much in above the fold, if you're highlighting everything, you end up highlighting nothing because you're just going to get confused. The next aspect of user experience is mobile first. Now, I'm sure there's been a lot of talk and you might be sick of it already, but I cannot stress how important this is. 67% of all internet users are using a mobile device. In March of this year, Google rolled out mobile first indexing, meaning that it's going to index your mobile version of your site rather than the desktop version of your site. And so if you don't have a mobile version of your site, you're going to get penalized by Google and you're just going to see your rankings drop. So that's absolutely critical. And then with this mobile version, it needs to be light, fast, and responsive. Responsive means no matter the screen resolution, no matter how big the screen the user is using, they're going to get delivered that same user experience. And it needs to be light because a lot of these users are using cellular data rather than Wi-Fi. The next item is readability. Now, this is actually one of our websites that we really made a mistake on. As you can see, the headlines are really not easy to read. They're not scannable whatsoever. It takes a lot to read across that top menu. And so we actually had this site, we had a secondary look at it by Chris's company who presented a webinar earlier, TMA, and they pointed this out to us, and then we've learned from our mistake. And now you can see we've shortened up the menu, making it much more digestible, and that content, that clear headline, is much easier to read and to digest. So I'm just going to go and recap those user experience items because I think they're very important. And they are clear CTAs, simplicity, pop-ups as a last resort, capitalize on eye scanning methods, Make sure your mobile version of your site is responsive and delivers a good user experience. And finally, make sure all the content on your website is readable. So now you have a platform and a good user experience. What's the next step? Well, I'd argue that you should lock down security, implement good security habits, then do some SEO optimization, which should also be a part of the design process, and finally lock down a booking software because they do absolutely help. I would recommend Peak, but if Peak's not a good option for you, at least have some sort of way to process payments on your website. So security, it's not something that everyone really likes to talk about, but if your website goes down, then you can't sell, and that kind of defeats the purpose of having a website. So I'm just going to talk about 4 real quick points. The first is having an SSL certificate, and that basically establishes a secured encrypted connection directly between the visitor of a website and the server that the website's being served from. Absolutely critical. Google's already been penalizing people who don't have an SSL certificate. And then on top of an SSL certificate is making sure that everything loads via HTTPS. And if it isn't loading via HTTPS, visitors are going to get displayed with that message in a browser that says, this site is not secure, or it's trying to load scripts from an unsafe source. And so this video is kind of how you can identify those and how to fix them. So I'm just going to the web page, right-clicking, and scrolling down to View Page Source. That brings up the source of the code, the source code rather, and then I'm hitting Control F if you're on Windows, or Command F if you're on a Mac, and typing in simply HTTP:. And you can see that every instance that comes up here with HTTP needs to be changed to HTTPS. If you already have an SSL certificate and you're still serving things via HTTP, visitors are going to get displayed with that message, which is a real detraction from your website. The next security item is staying up to date on plugins and updates. So developers will find vulnerabilities within their own code, and then they will release updates to both release new features, but also security updates. And so after a while, those vulnerabilities get more and more vulnerable, and that's when you can get hacked and stuff. And then finally, as a last case resort, you should absolutely have a backup system in place. We recommend having daily backups, and most hosting providers will provide that as well. But at the very minimum, be backing up your website every time you're making a change. You don't want to be losing months worth of progress to a site outage. All right. SEO. Now, SEO, again, could also be a webinar in and of itself, but I'm just going to go over some real quick points for this, and it's absolutely critical to prepping your website for future growth. So SEO is split into 2 parts, on-page and off-page SEO, and I'm going to dive into on-page real quick. So at the core of on-page SEO is quality content, and then growing out of that becomes meta titles, H1 tags, and meta descriptions. So what do I mean by quality content? I mean content that is good for visitors. They're going to leave your site more informed about what you offer and the area you offer. And that means descriptive, helpful, informational content. If you take a look at this graph that I have up here, these are going to be high volume search terms. And then down here are lower volume, less competitive search terms. You want to be aiming for these in most places, because all of these different search terms, all these varieties of search terms down here are going to be equaling to a greater volume than these ones in most cases. And so what I mean by that is, if you offer Chicago walking tours, you should also include keyword varieties like Chicago tours by foot, Chicago pedestrian tours, day tours in Chicago, that type of thing. And so hopefully with those, you'll get a monthly search volume, you'll be competing in less competitive areas, and you'll get the equal monthly search volume. And then when you are setting up your site, I highly recommend investing in a keyword search tool so that you can see how much certain search terms are being looked for. They're about $50 a month. I don't expect that you need them for more than 1 or 2 months while you're designing your site, and it's absolutely really beneficial. Next is meta titles. As you can see from this graphic, a meta title is that first line on Google. And the way these work is that the first word of the meta title is most important, second word, second most important, and so on and so forth. So you should try and get those main keywords as close to the beginning as possible. The biggest mistake I see in meta titles is people putting their brand name first, when in the majority of cases, people aren't going to be searching for your brand name. And if they do, your website is still likely to be coming up first. Now, these meta titles are limited to 75 characters. This is mainly just a rule because you can have a longer meta title. Just know that Google is going to cut you off after 75 characters. But if it takes 79, 80 characters to write a good meta title, then do it. Just don't put anything at the end that you don't want to get cut off. And then finally, if you add your location, you're going to get more relevant traffic to your website. If you just are targeting boat tours and you're located in Florida and someone Googles boat tours in Chicago and they click on it and they're going to immediately leave your site. So you might be getting a lot of traffic, but it's not relevant traffic for you. So make sure you're including those locations to make sure you're getting relevant traffic. Next, I'm going to talk about H1 tags. Try and include keywords and location again, and only have one per page. Now, an H tag is a heading tag. As you can see here, this H1 tag is going to be the first heading on the top of your screen. They also go all the way down to H6, but they're not as relevant for search terms and not as relevant for Google. Again, try and make it relevant to the keywords you're trying to target and have them complement meta titles. So use different keyword varieties like I was talking about earlier. Use one keyword variety in your H1 tag and a different keyword variety in your meta title. And that way you're kind of capitalizing on both. All right, meta descriptions. So as the graphic shows, a meta description is that 3-line description underneath your meta title. And the biggest mistake I see here is people trying to stuff keywords in there. As you can see, I Googled long tail keywords, and those words in the meta description came up as bolded. That is really the only benefit. So if you're writing it just to get that bolding, it's not going to be useful for an actual human. Google's algorithm in today's age is extremely advanced. It's much more of a human than it is a bot. So it knows what people want to read. And so you want to be aiming these for click-through rate, not for keywords. So we suggest doing a short, punchy sentence at the very start with a value proposition. That is going to entice users to click on your result. And then these, I suggest having a 150 character limit because after that, Google might cut you off. The actual limit for these, I believe, is either 300 or 350 characters. So again, if you need all those to write a good description, then do that. Just know that it's very unlikely that Google's going to show it, and make sure to have all the important stuff first. Now let's move on to off-page SEO. And off-page SEO doesn't quite get the attention that on-page SEO does, which is it's frightening because off-page SEO is just as important, if not more important than on-page SEO. If on-page SEO was the entire equation, then SEO would be simple. People would be experts at doing it, and it would be easy to get on the first page of Google, which we all know is not the case. So off-page SEO guide. First, you should set up your business profiles, then assess your competitive environment, and then you should try and get backlinks and citations. A backlink is a link to your website from another website. So if you are registered on TripAdvisor, TripAdvisor has your URL on their page. That is a backlink to your website. And a citation is a mention of your brand name on another website. So business profiles. The most important business profile you should set up is a Google My Business. And this is important so that you show up in location-specific searches done through Google Maps. So if I'm on my mobile and I go on to Google Maps app and I type in restaurant near me, those restaurants that pop up have Google My Business profile set up. And so this is, again, going to be helping you get relevant searches and allowing you to pop up on those map searches. Then there's the obvious ones like Yelp, TripAdvisor, social media accounts, Airbnb, that type of thing. And with these, the important thing to remember is to link these back to your website. So if you have a Facebook page, which you should link from that Facebook page back to your website because that counts as a backlink. And then finally, make sure you have a process for collecting reviews and display those on the website. Just as Jenna was saying in the intro, kind of stole my thunder here, but you should have social proof because it helps humans, which are social beings, to kind of realize they are actually going to get what's being described. The next step is going to be assessing your competitive environment. So make a list of your competition and then choose one of those people out of your competition list and run a backlink analysis on them. And so there's a wonderful product at ahrefs.com, and it's $7 for a 7-day trial that allows all their access to all their products. And then so you go in and you run that backlink analysis on one of those competitors, and it'll show you all of the links that are all the places on the internet that are linking to their website. And it should help you realize which ones you can also put on, and then areas that they're missing. It'll kind of jolt your mind into thinking, I can go register my business here, and that'll get you a reputable backlink. And so let's talk about backlinks a little bit. There are basically two ways of getting backlinks. There's buying backlinks, and then there's doing the hard work and getting good backlinks. So you can find someone on the internet to link to your website from a bunch of spammy websites, but Google will penalize that. So please do not do this. So when you want to do backlinks, it's quality over quantity. You want to be networking with close partners in your area to exchange links between sites. So say you have a partnership with a hotel in your area and they kind of sell your tours. You should tell them that we should exchange links. You put a link on your website to my website, and I'll put a link on my website that goes to your website. And it's mutually beneficial there. And again, I want to focus on relevance. Google will give more credit to a link that's coming from a reputable, relevant source than it will to a non-reputable, irrelevant source. Citations. So citations, like I said, are mentions of your website, and basically they follow the same rules as backlinks. Again, you want to be getting relevant, reputable people to be naming your website. An example of how to do this would be trying to connect with a local blog or a magazine or a local newspaper, and maybe having them run an article about your services. And that hopefully they do this digitally so you can actually get the SEO benefits. And again, quality over quantity. All right, so you've done some SEO optimization, you have a good user experience, your site's live. Now what do? Well, I think you should continue to grow through your site. You want to keep content fresh. You want to be blogging if it's the right choice for you, or you want to do continual testing. And you want to do continual testing, forgive me. So you might be asking yourself, why do I need to do this? Well, the first aspect is freshness helps SEO. I'm not saying it's the only thing, but it does help. Google crawls your website about once every 14 days, and it'll be able to tell every single change you made. And so if you're constantly making those little changes, making sure everything's up to date, Google's going to take note of that. It's going to know you're paying attention to your website, and it's going to give you a little boost. It's not going to get you on page 1 just out of this, but it is going to help. And next, it may be working, but it might not be working to the best it can. You want to be making sure you're extrapolating as much value out of your website as you can. Like I said, it is the biggest tool your company owns. You should absolutely capitalize on it. And then finally, blogging can have large rewards, and I'll get into that a little later. So continual testing. Continual testing isn't that hard. You should absolutely be A/B testing or split testing your website once or twice a year. And basically what that means is you're taking 2 versions of a page, and in between the two, you've only changed one thing. And basically you're going to drive 50% of your traffic to one page and 50% to the other. And you're going to decide which one's converting better, which one are users spending longer on the page. So yeah, you duplicate the page, change the item in doubt. Then you can do this in Google Analytics. You can go to the Behavior tab and then go to Experiments. and it will tell you how to set this up. I'm not going to get into that because Google has wonderful help documents, and I figured it out myself. I think you guys are all capable of doing the same. And what should you focus A/B testing on? You should focus on forms. If your website is super dependent upon forms for people getting in touch with you or to make reservations, you should absolutely test forms, form buttons, and all of that stuff. You should focus on call to actions and landing pages as well. And with landing pages, it might be the structure of the landing page, it might be images or video on that landing page. But if you do this A/B test once or twice a year, it's not too much work, and you might find out that you can convert 20% more by changing a simple word on a form from submit to go. And there are cases of that. Keeping content fresh. So this is more about keeping the appearance and the info on your site up to date. The last thing you want is to get someone onto your webpage, book your tour, and they go to the wrong place because your website's out of date. So you want to be keeping the prices, times, and locations up to date. And then furthermore, if you keep getting asked the same question over and over again, you should include that on your website as a frequently asked question because it'll save your visitors time and it'll save you time, mutually beneficial. And then finally, using images and video to keep the appearance looking fresh. We suggest having lots of high quality yet optimized pictures on your website of smiling faces enjoying your tours. And then as Chris mentioned in his webinar earlier, video will absolutely help your website succeed, no matter the budget. So you should absolutely include some videos. Now blogging. The one caveat I have to blogging is that before you start blogging, you should investigate whether or not there is a market for it. So you should only blog if there's a decent market for the information you're talking about and an opportunity to actually reach that market. If you determine that that is going to be a strategy that's going to work for you, then blogging strategy is comprised of 3 parts. It's targeted at keywords that people are searching for. It has consistency, you're blogging on a consistent basis, and it has evergreen content. Evergreen content, as the name kind of implies, like the tree, never dies. So this is going to be content that's good today, tomorrow, and 10 years from now. So this is going to be revolving around stuff like what to do in your area, restaurants you can go eat at in your area. Try and find stuff that other people may not be talking about, but you think can be very beneficial for people coming to your area. And then consistency is important because once you do grow a readership, they're going to come to expect you to blog on a consistent basis. So whether that's every day, every week, or once a month. I don't suggest going beyond once a month because there's a chance people just don't get attached. So I'm going to do a real quick conclusion of all the topics I covered today, and that would be setting up your site, which is first assessing your needs, then choosing the platform that meets those needs, and then designing a sitemap and user experience to be logical, structured, and easy to use. Next steps are getting a booking software, making sure you implement correct security habits, and doing some SEO optimization. Now, SEO is tough. I'm not going to lie to you. It is a lot of work, but it's not very technical and it's not very hard. So it's just time consuming. You can pay someone to do it. As long as they do a good job, you should see the benefits from it. And then on an ongoing basis, you should be keeping your content fresh, blogging if that's the right solution for you, and continually testing your website to make sure you can get all the value out of that. Now, hopefully you guys got some tips that are going to help you future-proof your website and keep your website relevant. But I figure some of you might already be looking for a website, and I'd urge you to reach out to us at Andrew@TourismTiger. My email will be at the end of the presentation. I do think we provide top quality websites specialized for tourism and activity operators. And then we provide a monthly service that I think is super beneficial. So your site is always going to be up to date. I provide full-time support. I do monthly upgrades to the sites, and then I send out a monthly report. So I'm not going to sell you too hard, but give us a shout. Yeah, now I'm going to open up the floor to any questions you guys have. There's some resources that I have here on the page that might be beneficial for you. One is an off-page SEO guide. One is 95 places to list your tours, which gives you nice, reputable backlinks. And then you can talk about blogging strategy with me. So go ahead and reach out to me or visit our website. I'm honored, and thank you for listening, guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Andy. That was great. I promise that I also said go frogs when you said it, okay? Go frogs. So a couple questions here. Matthew asked if there's a particular keyword search tool that you recommend.
The one we use is called Keyword Finder or KW Finder. It's made by a company called Mangools. It will show you the search results page for every keyword, and then it'll show you related search terms that other people have been using.
Awesome. Perfect. And I have another question from Gudiello? They're asking if you're not ranked in the first 20 companies on TripAdvisor, should you take that TripAdvisor badge off your website? Or do you think it's better to keep that on even though you're not ranked in that top?
That's a good question. So on TripAdvisor, there's a variety of widgets you can use. As long as you're ranking 4 or 5 stars, I would encourage you to leave it on there. And there's actually an option to remove the part that says number 1 out of how many tours in your area. So you can kind of customize that widget. And then if you're not getting 4 or 5 stars on TripAdvisor, I would probably take that off.
Awesome. Good advice. Another question here from Emily. She's saying that she's been offered a free website recently, and she's wondering about the pros and cons for that.
Well, the obvious pro is that it's going to be free. That's always good. But it depends on whether the person's trustworthy or not. I mean, there are free platforms that work well. I mean, I think a lot of people see success on Squarespace and Weebly and that kind of thing. I mean, if someone's going to build you a free website, at least take a look at it.
Nice. Awesome. Good non-biased answer there, Andy. That was great. And what about, I have a question here from Carol. She's asking for just a reminder on the site that had the $7 for 7-day trial access competitor backlinks. Can you remind us what that is?
Yeah, that is Ahrefs. That's a coding term for a website link. So that's going to be ahrefs.com.
Perfect. Thank you. And another question here. Do you offer a service where you go get the backlinks for your clients?
We do not. We're not an SEO company by any means. We do basic optimization of our websites. But I encourage you to look at upwork.com. That is upwork.com. And you can find someone who will offer you that service. And most times, if you're looking for in Eastern Europe, they're relatively cheap, and normally the quality is very good.
Awesome. And another question here, just in terms of the keywords on Google, just a clarification. Was it 75 characters or 75 words? 75
characters for meta titles, and then 150 characters for meta descriptions. Although that 150 varies depending on what Google thinks is relevant.
Perfect. So just for everybody listening, we are just sending through that ahrefs.com website through the chat. So you should see it there just so that you don't have to remember it or go and run around and find a pen. And perfect. We have a couple more minutes for questions if anybody has any more. Perfect. Perfect. Well, we do have one compliment here for you, Andy. Hilda says that this is an A++ presentation. So there you go.
Oh, thanks, Hilda.
I think that sorry, just another question here. We have one person that's in Peru, and they have a call center service. Do you offer or do you suggest having that call center service be in Spanish?
Yeah, that depends on whether the majority of your clientele is speaking Spanish. If there's that's basically going to be a cost-benefit analysis you're going to have to do. If there is a decent enough population of your clients that are going to be wanting that Spanish, then absolutely you should provide that in Spanish. That's a tough one though.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome. Well, great. Thank you so much, Andy. Really appreciate you doing that presentation for us. I know that we learned a lot. So coming up next, we have Dustin Hoyman. He's going to be presenting on how to increase your bookings without spending a dime with his efficient phone script outline. So make sure to come on back for that one in about 19 minutes, and we'll see you then. Thank you so much again, Andy.
Thank you guys. Have a good one.